Hello and welcome to this edition of 101 with Montgomery County Executive Ike Leggett. I'm Lorna Virgili and thank you for joining us. Hello, Mr. Leggett. How are you?
Very well. How are you today?
Good, good. Well, this is the last show that we sit down, 101, to tape for 2016. And as we do every year, it's kind of like a little bit of a review, the year in review, as to what has taken place this year here in Montgomery County. So how about we get started with your FY17 operating budget, which County Council approved, obviously earlier this year, increasing property taxes and also spending above your recommendation. Back then you said that this would put us in a very precarious position for next year in FY18. You're reviewing the budget. Where are we?
Well, first of all, the council goes through an awful lot of challenging conditions in order to put the budget together, and I commend them on their work. But fundamentally, I disagreed with the final outcome for several reasons. First of all, they increased spending about $28 million over and above what I thought we should spend. Clearly, we may differ as to the amount that we spend and the categories, and that's always an interesting argument between the legislative and the executive branch. But I think when you look at the rationale as to why I made that decision, I thought it was pretty sound. It placed us in a very difficult position going forward. And given the amount of spending that we've had over the last couple of years, increase in spending simply as a matter of objective by the council, I thought was not the proper way to go. In addition, they increased the property tax over and above the amount that I had ultimately recommended, and they added the recordation tax as well. The combination of those two things, I think, in many ways, created a challenge for us going forward. It means that it's very difficult to have any future revenue enhancement. It means that we have more less revenue based on the amount of spending that we will have here. And as a result of that, it places us in a very difficult position for the FY18 budget going forward. I'm looking now at a 2-3% reduction in anticipated expenditures for the FY18 budget. That places us in a very difficult position because we still have to meet the maintenance of effort levels, and that's not, in my opinion, sufficient to really respond to the challenge we have in education. We have increased expenditures that I think are really challenging for us as a result. And so I think the prudent course would have been to pare the budget down somewhat and not increase the taxes last year in order to pay for that. That would have given us somewhat more flexibility as we look at FY18 and 19.
So you said 3% of reductions. That's across the board for all county.
2 to 3%.
2 to 3 for all county departments, correct?
Yeah, for FY18, yes.
And property taxes?
Well, property taxes are going to be at the charter limit. There's no hope, expectation that we'll go beyond that because of the amount that we went over in the past. And so when you look at that, to envision the county increase in taxes above the charter limit, at least for the next couple of years, is basically out of the question.
So how are you balancing this?
Well, by
it's going to be a tough holiday season for you.
Exactly. And that's why I'm saying we will probably have a 2 to 3% reduction in the budget overall across the board. Now, what that means is that's just a starting point. We then go back and compare various departments against each other and look at the priorities, but it's not an automatic 2 or 3%. I simply ask that as a starting point, but then we make strategic decisions based on needs, requirements, and how we want to position the budget.
One of the big items this year was also liquor control, privatization on one side, and you opposing it in fear of losing those $30 million for the operating budget. You recently granted a statement. Your position continues to be the same.
Well, no, let me go back. I'm not fundamentally against privatization. You know, we've moved to make private our workforce development. We've moved to put in a new authority for economic development. I wanted to privatize our transit services as well. So fundamentally, I'm not against that. My problem has been that I did not see a model of privatization that would provide us with the revenues that we are now getting. That's about $36 million by my estimate, as well as protect us in terms of the bonds that we've levied over the last few years. If we could have a privatization scheme that could do that, then I'm all for that. But unfortunately, we have not come up with one to do that. The real challenge that people expressed as it relates to liquor in the county was that they wanted more efficiency. Even though when you look at our system and you compare it to some of the systems around in other jurisdictions, I think you'll find that it's probably fairly well compared to those. But it's not to suggest that there's no need for improvements, and we've made a huge level of changes to make sure those improvements are in place. And so when I look at the challenges and the problems that people have expressed to me, those challenges and problems are really pale compared to the operation and the risk that you would have of losing that amount of money. I've gone back and looked at a large number of those, quote, challenges that people have had the system. Many of them are not true, and some of them are exaggerated, and there are some that are legitimate. So how can we deal with the legitimacy of those challenges? I suggested a private authority. That is, an authority that would come in and operate it. The county executive simply would make the recommendations to the council as to the board of directors. They would select their own operating oversight process of having personnel therein to operate it, with a chief administrative officer to do that. We will have a lot of independent authority on procurements, on a lot of the challenges that you face with a county government, and they will simply operate it. People have to recognize right now there's an operating authority that operates all the golf courses in the county, the airports in the county, and so, as well as economic development. So this is a model that can work. So that model will provide us with a more efficient, streamed down operation, provide us with the revenue as well, and allow the county to move forward. The other operation is to either do nothing and we stand still in the current system, or go all out privatization, which runs the risk of losing the kinds of resources that I've just talked about, $30+ million, as well as jeopardizing our AAA bond rating as it relates to the bonds that we floated.
And do you have support from county council on this?
Well, I think that they're somewhat, reluctant about it, but we'll end up with the status quo. And so my view, we either end up with the status quo or we move in this direction. But again, keep in mind the urgency of what we were talking about, based on the need, and that need has not been demonstrated in a way that I think justifies wrecking and providing a hole in our county's budget. And that will be a pretty big hole of $30+ million.
We're going to take a short break, Mr. Leggett, and we'll be right back. Please do stay tuned. We'll continue with Montgomery County Executive Ike Leggett in just a few minutes.
Here's your chance to save money and help the environment. Bring your reusable bag when you shop and you'll save 5 cents for every store bag you don't need. Retailers in Montgomery County charge 5 cents for the plastic or paper bags they provide. Why? Because plastic bags are the biggest single source of stream and waterway litter, causing pollution and flooding. And every year, Montgomery County spends $3 million on cleanup. So do yourself and the environment a favor. Bring your reusable bag when you shop, you'll fight litter and keep the change.
The next 30 seconds can save you a lot of money. Just do your laundry in cold and stick to full loads. Auto-sleep your computers. Plug your gadgets in a power strip and switch it off when you're done. Headed out? Turn back your thermostat by 10 degrees. And drive sensibly. The more energy you save, the more money you save. Find other great tips at energysaver.gov.
This message brought to you by FEMA. Home fires occur most often in winter. Keep anything that can catch fire at least 3 feet from heating equipment. And never use an oven to heat your home. Stay in the kitchen when frying, grilling, or broiling food. Turn space heaters off when you leave the room or go to bed. Make sure all vents are clear of snow and ice to allow carbon monoxide to vent outside. Have your furnace, heating system, and chimneys serviced each year by a qualified professional. Learn more at www.usfa.fema.gov.
Hey, mister! Down here. You illegally passed the stop school bus. I'm placing you in timeout. And this timeout means big fines, plus you really could have hurt somebody. That's why school buses are being equipped with video cameras to help kids like me stay safe. So respect the bus.
Hello and welcome back to 101 with Montgomery County Executive Ike Leggett. I'm Lorna Virgili. Thank you for continuing to watch. All right, Mr. Leggett, let's talk about transportation. Earlier this year, you did make recommendations to County Council for bus rapid transit, BRT. And recently, there was the naming contest to actually brand the system. The importance of it in 4 years to have BRT at least on Route 29 and some other main roads in the county.
Mm-hmm. Well, we are moving forward. We received $10 million in a Tiger grant from the federal government to help us. We're looking for some support from the state as well. But we've got enough now to start at least the planning phases of this. And one of the things we wanted to do is to get the community much more actively engaged in a bus rapid transit system so they know fully what it will provide for us in terms of transit services, build some excitement around it so that people will get involved in this process overall. As I looked at it, I think that this is a good opportunity now for people to fully understand it, what bus rapid transit provide and what it will not provide. It's not a rail system. It's not the typical bus system. And the one that we're looking at in Route 29 can essentially operate in the existing lanes that we have, the shoulder lanes that we have along that route. And so this naming opportunity will provide us with a chance to have the public become much more engaged. We're not just talking about the public in Montgomery County, because the line that I envision will run from Columbia and Howard County all the way to Silver Spring in Montgomery County. That's a huge challenge in our community in terms of the existing transportation problems that we face. Both afternoon and morning rush hours in the Route 29 corridor are literally clogged, with people simply going from one stream to the other down that corridor. And we think that we can reduce some of that by having a bus rapid transit system. This is the most cost-effective place. This is where the highest need is, and this is where we have a great deal of support from the communities along this route to make sure that this happens.
A couple more items when it comes to transportation. I-270, the governor came down. He actually stood next to I-270 to make the announcement of additional funding for the Innovative Congestion Management Project. And the other component, the Purple Line, for which, funds were approved at the state level, but the county's contribution will be higher.
Well, the county contribution will be higher. We are currently engaged in a protracted lawsuit brought by some of the people who have objected to the Purple Line. Hopefully in the foreseeable future we'll resolve that lawsuit and be able to move forward. But in the meantime, it has cost us some additional monies, because the more time that you delay and cost of litigation, that price tag continues to go up. But there's a need for the Purple Line. We've worked over the years to try to resolve many of these issues concerned, from the environmental impact, the cost, and a number of the questions that the judge has obviously raised. But we anticipate that this suit will be resolved. It may end up costing us a little bit more in order to get it resolved in terms of the time frame. But if we stay fairly close to what I anticipate a final decision from the judge, I think that we will not be too far off pace in terms of the time frame for the ability to go forward for further planning, acquisition of the right-of-way, and also for some design features to allow us to go forward.
I-270?
I-270 is going to be a real challenge because we still continue to have massive congestion. There are some challenges at the state level in terms of the distribution of the funds and some final configuration around the Watkins Mill interchange that I think we can get resolved. But when you look at 270, and some times of the day, it's almost like a parking lot. It's a huge network that we have along 270 that feeds into the arterial roads along that intersection, interstate highway. But it's a real challenge for us, and our challenge right now is that we don't have quite the amount of money that we'd anticipated, but we have enough to go forward. But what we have now is not sufficient to do all the things we need along I-270, but right now it's a start.
One of the items that the Department of Transportation had to cope and deal with this year was the safe track surges from Metro that impacted commuters at the red line here in the county. Do we know the price tag at the county for that?
Well, we got
safety?
$1 million from the state, and we continue to grapple through it. It's going to cost us, I think, several $1 million more in order to avoid all the consequences of the negative impacts of this safe track. But keep in mind why this was done. It's an inconvenience, it's a challenge. Many of our residents throughout the entire metropolitan area struggle through this. But keep in mind that we had some very serious safety problems. Ridership was down because of reliability. And as a result, the new general manager, Mr. Westerfield, had to take some very serious action. I commend him for taking that action. I think it's overdue for us to make sure this system is repaired and people feel safe about it, to provide greater reliability. And so we will struggle over the next few months to get through this. But I think the long-term challenge with the Metro is the safety and the funding challenges that Metro is facing today. And you can't do one without the other. People are not going to ride it to ensure that you get the kind of revenue that you want, and local communities are not going to invest unless they feel that it's safe and reliable. In order for it to be safe and reliable, you need money. So it's a sort of a which comes first here, the chicken or the egg. But it's a real dilemma that we have to face, and I believe the only way we can ultimately resolve this is a compact for the entire region to look at some type of regional commuter tax in order to make certain that the system will have the revenue it needs going forward.
2016 was a good year as far as economic development is in the county. Marriott announced that they will stay, keeping headquarters here in Bethesda. Clarksburg Premium Outlets opened. It becomes a shopping destination in the state. And the National Cybersecurity Center of Excellence opened earlier in 2016 up county, creating jobs. So a lot of jobs came to the county and remained in the county in 2016.
Well, I'm very excited about the efforts that we've made, but we've only made those efforts because we've aligned very closely our economic development. We've had sustainable budgets going forward to allow us to partner with the private sector to make certain strategic moves in the county that permits us now to take advantage of some of the opportunities that are out there. For example, we made an investment because we wanted to make sure that Marriott stay here in the county. We made an investment to make sure, both in terms of time and resources, to ensure that we realign our economic development offices. And so we now have a private economic development corporation that actually oversees the economic development operations for Montgomery County, as well as workforce development. All of those things, I think, places us in a better position in terms of the competitive region that we're in. But the future for the county still remains our economic sustainability in terms of our ability to budget and to partner with many of those in the private sector to take advantage of opportunities that are out there. We made some progress, but there's much more that I think you're going to see going forward. One of the decisions that I made going back some years ago was to increase our investment in many of the facilities that were aged in the county at a time when we had the basic recession throughout the region, throughout the nation. I thought that was the best time for us to build because the construction costs were cheaper and the borrowing costs were lower. And as a result of that, we are now up to the mark of 50 non-school related projects that we built in our administration that are well overdue and allows us to partner with economic development and give people an opportunity to ensure that we have the kind of services we want.
And we're going to be talking about those facility openings just when we return. Stay tuned. We'll be back with Montgomery County Executive Ike Leggett.
Did you know there are more than 10,000 county government phone numbers? But there's only one number you need to remember for non-emergency calls: 311. MC311 is Montgomery County government's online telephone information system. Need information? Have a problem or complaint? Trying to locate a county government facility? Call 311. The call center is open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The website is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Are you sure they can recycle us, Clamshell?
Hey, Dome, we're on a new recycling postcard.
I can't wait to make a new start. Maybe I'll be a red carpet at a big premiere.
And I'll get to paint the White House.
Shh, here he comes. Now you can recycle more plastics in Montgomery County, including #1 PET plastics such as clamshells, deli containers, trays, lids, domes, and cups.
Woohoo!
We're in! For more information on recycling, contact the Montgomery County, Maryland Division of Solid Waste Services at 311. The wait is over. Recycle more plastics today.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
message about protecting your pipes and ours from WSSC.
Welcome back to 101 with Montgomery County Executive Ike Leggett. I'm Lorna Virgili. Mr. Leggett, you always say that you like ground openings, but you love ribbon cuttings, and there were a whole lot of those this year. The Public Safety Training Academy, new facility, state of the art, couple recreation centers, couple libraries, couple firehouses. I mean, lots of ribbon cuttings.
Well, that came as a result of decisions that we made some time ago to take advantage of the opportunity that existed for the county during the economic downturn, recognizing that we had a very good credit rated Montgomery County, that we can borrow money at that time cheaper, and that we could build faster and we could build cheaper. So I accelerated projects in the midst of the recession, and as a result of that, we see many of the groundbreakings that are open that will sustain our communities, provide the services and programs that people want, and also enhance us in terms of livability that also enhances our ability to attract companies and create jobs here in Montgomery County.
You're closing the year, and Montgomery County was just awarded the AAA bond rating, making the county best among the nation for fiscal responsibility.
Well, I pride myself on that.
We talked about the challenges before, but
yeah, I pride myself on that because we've been able to maintain a AAA bond rating through all of the challenges throughout the recession, through the government sequestrations, through the closures, and many other things. And getting that AAA bond rating is a good housekeeper stamp of approval, saying that we have managed the county's resources extremely well. Very few jurisdictions have that AAA bond rating for all three major rating agencies. Montgomery County has it, and we're going to keep it.
2016 presidential election. As a result, a couple of things happened in here in Montgomery County. County residents, voters approved overwhelmingly the term limits for the offices of county council and county executive.
Right.
How does it change the political dynamics in Montgomery County as you see it, as Mr. Leggett sees it?
I still is somewhat unknown because I think there are large numbers of people who now have the urge and the resources that they think that they need in order to run for office, because something else happened as well. We have a new public finance law that goes with that. So the combination of a large number of open seats as well as the campaign finance law pushed many, many people to consider running for public office. I'm not sure that we fully understand the impacts of all of this at this point in time. It's too early to say because we still have almost a year and a half before the election. But I think it's one of the things that will be interesting over the next few months to watch. And I'm just going to simply watch for the time being.
Well, you still have that. You have about 2 years still left in your term. And you had announced prior to the voters approving term limits that you will not seek a fourth term. But as we see it, it might be an avalanche of candidates because of those two components. So yeah, we'll sit back, relax, and enjoy that. But in the meantime, your legacy. You still have a whole lot of work to do, but how would you like that to be?
Well, we're still working on it. And one of the things that I wanted to make sure that we had, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, that financial management, that is to put the county in a better position financially so that our budgets are sustainable, that we can afford and do the things that we're going to do to run government efficiently and effectively, is to get these projects built. That allows us to do a number of things. The significant amounts that we provided in affordable housing, I think, has been record-shattering. The number of resources that we put into that area is extremely well. I think the other area also is that we've brought a very changing, dynamic county together compared to where we were before, despite what is happening at the national level. That Montgomery County is a very unified community. We had a rally just a couple of weeks ago where we had Stand Up for the Montgomery County Way. Overwhelmingly large numbers of people came out, and they like the direction that the county is going in. They like the sort of transition that we've made. And I think that my leadership over a number of years, not only now as county executive, but many years before, in working with many other stalwarts in the county, has allowed Montgomery County, compared to other jurisdictions, to come together with such a large, diverse community in a way that I think helps us to move forward in a very, very outstanding way to show people that we respect all people, we treat people with dignity and respect, and this is a county that you can live in and be very proud of.
It was a bitter, cold Sunday, but it was a great turnout
Yeah.
of county residents, about a couple
Yeah, I think
thousand.
that the turnout and the diversity that we had, the message that went out, it wasn't a political message. It was a message about unity, about treating people with dignity and respect, and it was a message about the Montgomery County way, which I think many people could look at and say it should be a model for the rest of the country.
I have to ask this question in the international arena. The one country that you officially visited this year is Cuba. Black Friday, dictator Fidel Castro passed away. You know, I'm Cuban American, and of course I have to ask you this. Your visit to Cuba, what happened, the changes through the administration, Obama administration, and the incoming administration, what do you hope happens with Cuba?
I think that it would be difficult to sort of put the genie back into the bottle. The changes that have been made, I think some are irreversible. I think it may go slower because we have a different administration. But when you look at what is required, what is needed, I think that there are some wounds that obviously people continue to have on both sides. I think you could look at the regime and say in many ways it has been repressive, it violated large numbers of human rights, and that there are some challenges that it still exists as you go forward. But to go back and totally fight those at this point in time and to ensure that we will have a long-term fight without moving forward, I think would be the wrong direction. It will go slower, but I think given what has transpired thus far, I believe that the greatest opportunity to have the kind of society in Cuba that people want is to have that sort of openness, to open it up, to have greater trade and greater contact. Because I think the strongest element of the democracy and capitalism is when people have those opportunities, come close together to engage in that. To isolate that, I don't think would be productive, and we would end up spending another 5 to 10 years waiting on someone else to die in a change of administration in Cuba. I think that we have to sort of build from where we are today.
We have just about a minute left of the show, airtime. 2016 regrets and 2017 goals.
I think some of the regrets that I have is that we have not made as much progress that I'd hoped in terms of reducing the achievement gap. Some of the regrets are along the lines of the budget, on some of the higher increases in taxes and some of the expenditures over and above what I had anticipated. Some of the real good changes in the county. I think that we have demonstrated that we are much more unified. I think that we've shown some very strong indications in economic development, how we've streamlined our development process, how we're streamlining permitting services and a number of other things that we've done, and how we've managed the county despite all these challenges and find economic, sustainable way. So there's an awful lot to be proud of, but there are some challenges that we still have, and we need to continue to work on them.
Any special plans for the holidays?
I think we'll say fairly close to home, and maybe I can afford it this time.
Okay.
Do an awful lot of spending during that time.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Mr. Leggett. Have a wonderful holiday
Thank you.
season. And for you watching, do remember that starting on January 9th, the County Executive will be hosting the FY18 Operating Budget Public Forums for your participation. Any information and to find out about those forums, do visit our website, montgomerycountymd.gov. I'm Lorna Virgili. Thank you for watching.
In Montgomery County, we have a goal to reduce waste and recycle 70% of all waste by 2020. By recycling and reducing waste, we save natural resources and make our community even better. So recycle at home, work, school, everywhere, and keep recycling going. For more information, call the Montgomery County, Maryland Division of Solid Waste Services at 311 or visit montgomerycountymd.gov/recycling.
Keep it going.
Recycle more now.